thank you for watching. Again, this is the Talking Energy Show, and it's, created really just for a platform for, energy leaders and, new technology, innovation, anything we can do to break in, and of course, energy literacy and energy education. And it all kind of came out of that Oilfield Tailgate. And,
Right.
That we have that great, networking gathering every home game in Norman, and all these sponsors are pitching in, and that's coming up, by the way. I need you guys to go to oilfieldtailgate.com and be a sponsor. But I just wanted the logos of all the people that, pitch into that to have a lot more, areas of reach,
Sure.
for their sponsorship. And
Right.
man, I wanted to do energy education. So here we are. We got the Talking Energy Show for Oilfield Tailgate, and been very fortunate to continue to, have leaders out there that, want to talk about what they're doing, where they came from, and, what they're passionate about. So introduce yourself, homie.
So my name is James, is my real name. Everybody in the oil field knows me by Grizz, Voss. Grew up in a little small town in Osage County, Oklahoma, Hominy. My granddad was a producer, uncles, just naturally went into it out of school. Started out at the bottom. I know everybody says that's kind of a cliche deal, but, in Osage County, you was either a rancher or an oil guy. There wasn't much into industry up there. So I gravitated towards the oil side.
He was already generational.
Yeah, man. I've got acreage now and could have animals. I mean, outside of a few dogs, and my wife's got a couple chickens. Man, I just never gravitated towards the ranch. I respect it. It's a vital part of our economy, but it just wasn't what I was passionate about early on. I remember, so my granddad had 8 or 10 leases, and we'd be doing ranch and stuff during the day, and then in the evening he'd go, "Well, bub, jump in the truck and we're gonna go check wells." All right, and at that age, I was opening gates, and he'd let me gauge the tanks and stuff, and I just remember the smell when you'd open up the thief latch. It's something that never left me, and I was that kid that was drawing pulling units and stuff in school and pump jacks and stuff, and I guess I just had always a passion for it. I can't imagine people that come into it that didn't have a background into it.
There are.
And some of the people.
But it doesn't take long for them to go. I mean, there's just something about it that just grabs you.
Mm-hmm. And before we got on camera, we was talking about how pivotal my granddad was in my growth and maturity into the oil and gas sector, and a lot of wisdom came out of him. He was like an old Sunray DX guy and worked a stint with an old company called Dowell Frac. And
I know Dowell.
Yeah, and so
my dad in Woodward worked for Dowell.
Oh yeah,
before Schlumberger bought him.
Oh yeah,
so we that was. Time. And we left the farming and ranching to move to Woodward for his passion for oil and gas, and moving into that. Dowell.
Yeah, and so anyway, and so after that. Started work on a pulling unit, then tank truck work, open hole wireline work, and then several years later got into production chemicals, and that's predominantly what I've been doing the last 11 years. Got our own production now, built a tank truck and a pump truck here recently, and started next gen trucking, and so now, doing everything we can, and then I had the opportunity to be a part of Enercat Technology recently, and that's kind of what spurred today, and so now I'm a part of that with everything else that's going on. So,
well, I'm fascinated, because we were talking. I mean, I do want to know everything about Enercat. I mean, while I got you, so just 30,000 foot view for, especially I always tell everybody in here, there's so many people I hope to reach outside of oil and gas. So what is that company? What does it do? How does it help? What's the technology? Why is it better than we've had before? Why should current industry people that need that technology call you up and say, hey, let's go check it out?
Yeah, so kind of the simple form of it is the name of it's Enercat Technology. They're based out of Calgary, Alberta. That's where the tools get manufactured. Everything start to finish. Everything's done in-house. We have we have four locations here, predominantly Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. But we always tell people, man, we got fuel cards and good tires. We'll go anywhere.
Anyway,
and so a little bit about what it does. So just like the name is short for what it is, it's an intercatalyst tool, downhole tool, solid technology with inner catalyst material. And basically what it does is it's tuned to use the rare earth metals that the tool is made of to drive stable. So for people that's not aware, it's kind of like the tuning fork technology. So it emits a passive frequency into the fluid at the molecular structure of the fluid, and it basically stabilizes the molecule structures in water and oil.
Wow.
And so basically what so we're in the optimization space on upper marginal, we can treat up to, in one well up to several hundred barrels, but where it really has its mainstay is in the marginal and stripper well space. But so basically what it mitigates is paraffins, asphaltenes, calcium carbonate scales.
It didn't take long for the wells to build those up.
No, and and a lot of people, this is for somebody that's maybe not in that space 100%. So a lot of these things don't happen out into the formation. So where these things start taking form is when they take a temperature or a pressure drop, when they start going up hole. So the tools are on the bottom hole assembly, so they catch these fluids before they take this flocculization process as they take temperature. And what the tool does is it stabilizes those structures, so when it does take that pressure and temperature drop, they don't mitigate out into paraffin, asphaltenes, and scales. It's a simplistic technology, but also really complex because it's handling everything at the nano level. I mean, you're talking about molecules, and it's doing it instantaneous as it comes by the tool.
But that's you've already seen, this use, so you're seeing quite a bit of data on production increases.
Oh, sure. And, that, Matt, you've been in it a long time, just like I have. The production increase is kind of a slippery slope to pitch as a sales guy.
But, at the end of the day, ROI on your investment in the tool. That's what, okay, well, if we use this, what are we getting in return?
And, the more efficient you are, the more production you're going to make, right? So if you cut down one failure a year, that means more barrels in the tank. I just don't like to say,
But it really does. Because we're talking, and I think, technology like that is so critical nowadays in areas like Oklahoma, to where, and the bigger the companies are getting and the more the ESG, stuff is hitting home in the boardrooms, well, they're dumping off a lot of wells that normally they would have kept, and now they're like, man, maybe we have to plug all these so we can get them off the books. We'll do the carbon capture and we'll get the carbon credits, but we're plugging all these wells. Like, no. Sell them.
Yes.
Somebody that wants them. Because, now I have a lot of friends, you start looking through all the people and they'll take those wells, and they're not marginal to them.
No,
that's their income.
No,
So a buddy one of my friends out a few miles east of Oklahoma City. Well, he's got 4 wells, but he lives off of those 4 wells. So every incremental stage of that process is making him his living.
Most of the people that probably watch us understand it, but if sometimes I catch things that come across and I'm like, wait, wow, that is true. So I was just in the other day, and sometimes you need to hear stuff. We give ourselves too much credit to remember things.
I can't. Yeah.
I
turned 5-0. I'm 5-0.
Right.
I know I look really amazing, for 50, but that's just the makeup.
And right. And you hear all these big IPs and stuff on LinkedIn and 1,500 barrels a day and this and that. And
this is awesome.
Right. Absolutely. We need those.
Because I want investors all around the globe to go, man, go invest in oil and gas and
domestic.
And we will bring you those returns you're looking for.
Oh, yeah. But on the simplest format is, I think people kind of look away, is 5 barrels a day is a load a month. Yeah. A 5 barrel a day well, or 3 wells, that equivalent 5 barrels a day. That's a 160 barrel load a month. That's 10 grand. Depending on NRIs and all the intricacies of it.
It's impressive.
But the oil and gas side, and marginal and stripper well stuff it's a viable source of income. I mean,
It should
you know,
be.
yeah,
That's
and
like put your money in oil and gas in some of your portfolio. If you can't go and get your own well by yourself, get an LLC together and get 10 guys, 20 guys, you know, whatever, and go get, you know, something online.
because the orphan well problem, I mean, it is an issue.
I know, but a lot of it, the orphan wells are just because no one's bought them and fixed them up.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is stemming somebody to take that leap or whatever to do, because technology,
or just let it go, you know,
right?
Or, you know, or now we've got the, you know, everything with geothermal, you know, coming up, and you know, people are like, well, can we take these marginal wells that somebody was going to plug and abandon and go and turn them into a geothermal well?
Right.
You know,
I've seen some talks out there about
there's just
that.
there's no end to, like, you know, before you know, plug that sucker up. Is there any possible way we can do this?
And there's some that are not going to be able to.
Not worth their investment.
Right, and you take independents that don't have that overhead and stuff, and that's what we've been seeing with some of the customers that, you know, and that's one of the benefits for me being a part of the Enercat Technology is you get to be in front of a vast, there's a, you know, from say Continental or Devon or Marathon or Diamondback, you know, those big guys, and then then the next day you might be for a guy that has 5 wells, you know, that has 5 barrels of production, and they're both. It's uniquely that both of them are striving for the same thing, you know. And with the Enercat technology, it's really rewarding for me is for somebody to be fighting something, whether it be paraffin or scale or whatever, and to take that guy that, man, he's taking it in the teeth on this well, right? And you know, I just had one
to prevent those,
right,
and get it out once you got it.
Right. We had a guy the other day that, you know, this well, he had pulled it like 4 times this year, and you know, now he's back on it.
All that elephant snot's coming out.
Yeah,
like,
man.
Oh my gosh! Every time I try to get anything out of this, it just turns to.
There's a lot of wells, and I know somebody might not be aware of it, but there is a big chunk of Oklahoma production that has paraffin oil related issues,
and a lot of it has to do with, hey, you know, especially if they've been fracked with all the chemicals we put down there to, you know, open up all the rock structures and keep them open. Well, lo and behold, you know, you talk to, you know, guys that have come up with, you know, neat chemicals that can go out and clean out that booger, you know, down there. But you know, it started with, you know, the way we, you know, drilled them and got them, you know, going in the first place.
Right, and that's kind of what
with our own things.
Sure, and you know, technology. We was kind of talking about that before. Was you know, in the last, I would say like since 2010, you know, technology from even say the 40s, 50s, 60s, nothing. I don't want to say nothing because there was some technological advances there, but it was kind of on a steady upcline, and then it seems like about 2010, man, you know, automation really came to be a mainstay, and you know, different fluid technologies and nanoparticles, and you know, there's so much technology out there, and
that's why we need all the young people to come into oil and gas. We need more of that.
Yes, absolutely.
There's no way all these people talk about oil and gas is not going to go away. It's going to need more people than ever to continue this amazing technology and innovation and science immersion into what we do to keep moving forward with, you know, our you know, mission, which is to bring affordable and reliable energy to the globe. You know,
and that's what we're
more people.
Yeah, and that's what we're about is you know, partnering with these companies to be more efficient, so we can provide more of abundant energy at a efficient price. Every single well.
Even the marginals they do not have to be marginal to someone.
And I get it. It's like, you know, when we talk to some of these people about the Enercat tool, and you know, when you're talking about wells that have issues, and they say, man, you're going to stick that metal sub in there, and it's just going to take away my problems. You know, and it's a skeptical
science.
Well, sure, but from somebody that I'm just giving you kind of an insight on some of the things that we hear is
just like when I do my hippy dippy crap and I take my shoes off in the morning, I go outside and I walk around barefoot. Now there's earthing. Yes, I'm doing the earthing stuff. Guess what? It works. People can look at me from my backyard and think I'm crazy. Like, why does that guy got his shoes off in the backyard looking at the sun?
Hey man, I mean,
whatever works.
I mean, you got to be you, man. I mean, I'm sure I'd do some things that people say.
So this thing goes down the hole. It works, man. Like it works.
Yeah, you know, and that's the whole thing is for the most part.
No one's gonna steal this, right?
No. So, you know, goes on the bottom of the bottom hole assemblies. You know, we've got several different, we can pretty much accommodate every lifting application.
There you go.
Yeah. And we're constantly innovating things to accommodate and make it trouble free for operators to employ the technology. We're just trying to do everything to get our name out there. I'm a type of guy that is passionate about the oil and gas industry. So when we get in and we partnership with companies, I mean, we're truly there to help, like
you don't want just to get a dollar from you. You want pats on the back down years from now to go, man, my well's still going, and I think it's because of you.
That's the biggest. I mean, outside of the money, all of us have to have money to make the world go around. But at the end of the day, I think that's why I've gravitated towards the optimization and the troubleshooting side of the production industry, is because I like to think I'm a critical thinker, like to figure out problems. It's easy to operate wells when everything's going great.
Yeah.
I like to be that guy that they call, like, hey man, this well is doing this, and this, and come out there and collectively come up with a solution to fix it. And that's what I feel like that right there is basically the backbone to our industry, is entrepreneurs, not taking no for an answer. We're going to do whatever it takes to get this done and get this well on, making oil, putting it in the tank, driving efficiencies. And when you put that kind of that history, that backbone of our industry, and you commingle it with technologies, modern technologies, it can be a well-oiled machine, I believe.
It has to be. I mean, there's the numbers for me are always, and I keep an eye on it because it's something that I know. U.S. land total, there's approximately 1 million wells that add to our fortune of product that, keeps us to where we're, one of the main producers in the world. Mm-hmm. And we love our liberty and our freedom. And without us, having that as our foundation for our country and being able to be, energy independent, if you will, right. Even if we're importing, exporting, whatever, we do have the ability to be energy independent, right. As long as we can keep a bunch of wells going.
Right.
Because you cannot say for sure we can go out and drill a bunch of wells. So when they say, hey, go turn on the spigots, it doesn't work like that at all.
I wish it did.
But can we keep them going what we have? Yes.
Yep.
Guys like you out there, like, man, I got tools. Let's go fix what we got.
Right. And, the efficiency factor behind it that's what helps marginal wells go from being borderline in the red to producing positive cash flow for the operator. And, obviously that's not as big a concern when oil's $75, $80, $100 a barrel, but all of us that's been in this industry long enough to know what goes up must come down. And what we want to do is protect people when that does go sub 50. Can we still be economic and do things and do interventions when oil is 40? And there's been a lot of advances even on the horizontal side. These downturns that we've been hit the last 10 years, we adapt and people figure out, you have to or you die.
If East Coast and West Coast Ivy League investors, want to poo-poo on us in public and, privately fund us, but that only goes so far. You can always look at it like, hey, summertime, that group's taken off. They're not going to want to have a high-risk investment, so we see all of our summertime activities go down. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of people right now laying rigs down, putting people on sidelines, and everybody calling me every day going, hey, you see anything happening activity-wise? I'm like, there's a little bit, but, right now you got to remember a lot of people that are investing in this normally, they're they don't want to watch that high risk investment all summer long. They want to be with their families, their kids are off. There's this, bubble that you have to remember that's, and it's not just oil and gas where we want to go out and work 24/7. I do. Right. There's a lot of people like, well, you guys are crazy about this. Like we are. We want to do it every day and give us some money to go do it. And then,
Yeah, I mean, again, it sounds cliche, but, my grandma always said, find something, I'm sure a lot of people's parents or grandparents told them, you find something you enjoy doing, you won't work a day in your life. Yeah. And, this industry can be physically and, it can be demanding on you. There ain't really, I don't think I've ever worked for a company in my 21 years, going on 22, I don't think I've ever punched a time clock. I don't think I've ever,
No, it's all, and it's fortunate, but it's also, it's a big responsibility to have people look you in the eye and go, hey, these are the things that need to be done. And you don't question what time do they need to be done? Whether it's no, just go get them done. Right. Guess what? Yeah, I was still out driving at 2 a.m. back to home.
Right.
But all the things that I needed to get done are done. If I've got a big presentation coming up, I'm probably going to stay up until it's done or until I pass out, and then that's the first thing I'm back on, whatever.
But I think we do that. It's just kind of like
I love it.
Yeah, well, it's kind of it's kind of like
I'm on fire to protect. Like I was showing you that Defender we got right now. Like I'm really on fire. And now that you turn a certain age, you're like, man, I know I'm not going to live forever, but here I'm more passionate than ever about our industry. More passionate about all the things that are possible. I'm like, okay, well, I want everybody to be on fire, but here's the 5,000 things we want to do, and now I've got to scrunch it down. And well, this is about this is probably going to be the amount of time you have left on Earth to get those done. Right. Okay, well, I'll stay up every day.
Right. But and it's something that just kind of keeps the like rowing a canoe. You got a team in there. Like you might just be one leg of it, but somebody's counting on you to do your part. Yeah. And it ain't, well, I'll work on it till 5 or 4:30 or whatever. I've never had that luxury in it. You just, and I think that, I've always been a pleaser, like with my dad or grandfather or boss or whatever.
Maybe not a pleaser even, it's more of a collaborator.
Right. Well, you just don't want them man, I got to make sure I get this done so they're not disappointed or, whatever. So, and the oil field just, it tailored to that, and I just like that part of it and I like the individual freedom that the oil field gives you too. Is you're not,
I get to go prove to myself today what my medal is.
Right, and I just like running and
that's something we need to talk about. Your entrepreneurial spirit. Saying, man, I think I can go do this. What's some advice you can give to people out there? That's a big risk to stop working for other people and saying, you know what, I'm willing to take the leap of faith in myself and my abilities and people around me. Obviously, nothing gets done without our amazing network and people. I can't do anything without the people I know and work with.
Yeah.
Where do you start? I got an idea. Who do I go to first? Do I go to the bank first? I just say, hey, tomorrow is a new day, and I need a business idea. Who do you go to?
As far as just the mental process of it and how to rationalize it and kind of take that initial leap of faith is so. All my life, I've been a baseball guy. That was kind of my sport. I played all three, but baseball was kind of my favorite. And a lot of people in the baseball world say, baseball's a game of failure. You're going to fail more times than you're going to succeed. And given anybody's certain circumstance, as far as you can find a lot of excuses why not to start a business and go out on your own. Like, well, I got small kids at the house. We just bought. We just upped our mortgage and bought a new home and all this, and those things are scary. Now my wife, it's drove her nuts. I thought literally at one point I was going to give her a breakdown, because she's a school teacher. She knows, We're totally opposite. I mean, we're on one of the
yeah, but that's good. That's
it keeps me kind of keeps me on the narrow.
Yeah. She's got that building and the structure of it, and you're like, I'm feral and free range.
Yeah. I mean, I would. There's no telling. I'd be out chasing tires or something. You know, if it wasn't for her, she's been a pivotal grounding force to me. Because I'm one of those guys that I throw caution to the wind. You know, take calculated risks as much as you can, but then I've always been kind of guy at the end of the day, we just got to jump in there and do it.
I do it.
But there was fears because, you know, I mean, if you love your kids and stuff, you don't want them to struggle. You want them to always have more than what you had or whatever.
And they don't care about none.
No, they don't.
They will never know if they're poor.
But I'm just talking about the average guy, you know, that's having those fears in his head about like, man, I know if he could do it, I could do it.
Yep.
And I say if
and you got your kid working with you right now.
Yeah. So actually both of my older sons play a part in it. One of them relief pumps, and then the other one runs the tank truck. Awesome. and kind of takes care of. They kind of switch hit it. They you know, if my younger son gets busy on the tank truck, then he takes. He
are they seeing? Are they starting to see? You know, because that's that deal. I mean, we're going to start passing on all this wisdom and knowledge to the next generation. Are they kind of seeing like, oh my gosh, there's so many possibilities for me in this industry?
Yeah, I think both of them right now. Okay, so taking context, one of them is 21 and one of them is fixing to be 20. You know, and so I think they will. To answer that, I think they will. Time will tell. Right now, I've been throwing so much on them because both of them are green. I mean, they're young, and I was always on the service side, so it's kind of hard to take them with me as, you know, little kids, and so they really haven't had that background that I had with my granddad being a small independent operator in Osage County. So right now I'm throwing so much at them, like, check this, and hey, make sure you're doing this and that. And I think they're kind of like, you know, one of them, my youngest boy, he was kind of like, man, Dad, there's a lot to this, isn't there?
Yeah.
And I go, it's
decision making.
I said, but it's, you know, the oil field, you know, there's no manual to it, really. I mean, on some things, some basics you can have a manual to, but, you know, everything's in the ground a mile, you know, in some cases. And so it's all about seeing it and repetition. Like, oh, I seen a well do that one time. I think it might be doing this. Or, hey, I think it's acting like this because I seen a well back, you know, 10 years ago that did this. Man, cool. And I said, you just got to, and I try to be positive with them to say, man, you're not going to learn this in one day, you know, but just keep a positive mindset every day. Come up and try to be better than you was yesterday. And I said, you'll string together experiences. Oh, you know, and you're going to fail. You're going to mess up some stuff, but learn from it. And then, you know, you just build it up. And then you look back one day and I think it's the most kryptonite thing you can say in the oil field is, you know everything about it because it'll humble you really quick. Bad.
This is one of the reasons I do this, because I was, you know, in that silo and I did this in oil and gas, and then all of a sudden I'm like, you know, if I go and interview every single person in oil and gas, I'm gonna get a little taste of everything that everybody does.
Right.
And now the more people I meet and the more things I see out there, like, well, guess what? There's a new technology, a new experience, a new story in every single person.
Oh, absolutely. I try to learn from, and I can't remember, you might know, it's one of them, maybe not Elon Musk or something. I'm terrible with I kind of give you the insight on how my brain works. I'll catch little nuances, and I don't really like acknowledge it right when I hear it, but then I might get in the truck and go,
better look that up.
Oh yeah, I like that. You know, like, so that part of it is, you know, I try to learn something from every person I come in contact with, whether it's, you know, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's more times than not in our business it's good, but sometimes you got to learn from other people's mistakes or failures too. And so that's what I encourage everybody, kind of going back to, if I had any advice, is to learn, even if your job is just this and you're on a frac crew or drilling rig, you know. And that's one thing I was telling my boy the other day is, you know, he helped on the back of a pulling unit the other day, and there were some things going on with wireline truck and all this, acidizers and all that. And I said, man, be a part of those conversations. Just because you have a break, I said, I know it's easy to go sit over in the shade and take a break, but you're not hearing the intricacies of why they're doing what they're doing. I said, that's where you learn and grow. And, you know, and he's kind of like, Well, you wasn't on those, you wasn't tailing out all those rods either, But he did, and he's eager to learn about it. And the advice I have is do it. I mean, I know that's easy to say after you've done it, but we're not out of the woods by any means. It ain't like we've made it or something like that. But
well, for all the hippie like people out there, don't forget your product is also like organic and locally sourced. There's no chemicals in it. There you go.
Yeah, we're green. I mean, yeah, if you want to jump on that, but hey, we're green. I mean, we really are. It's just basically the materials are metals.
Yeah,
the whole tool is made of metals.
I mean, that's something to say. In today's environment, like you don't have to go out there. You're not destroying anything. You're adding to it.
Yeah, Al Gore. You're green.
Welcome.
Yeah, right. But no, I mean it is, and this Enercat deal, I think it's going to be a mainstay. It's a tool, just like anything else. It provides a niche in the market that has been lacking for numerous years, and fortunately that I got to be a part of it. And I think that we're close to hitting our stride and really making
the
big deals. I think we
side
did
of that is the expense of I got to pull everything out of the well bore. I got to go in and clean it out. There's a lot of stuff you might have to do without a tool like that.
I'll see if you can elaborate on it too. Is so we heard kind of through the grapevine that Colorado is going to ban hot oiling in Colorado.
That could be a thing. I did not.
I don't know the exact source or where that came from or whatever, but that's kind of coming down the pipeline, and I was like,
why? I mean, that's would they prefer that everybody only can then go out and drill new wells? Where's the balance in decisions like that? Like, okay, every choice that you command over. First of all, governments, please stay the heck away from our industry. We know what's best for energy. And we know how to crank it up. It feels like, do we need any more parameters on rules and regulations from the government? It's like, no, we don't. We come up with tools, just like we were talking about, well, you're out there as somebody on location, and you see, any kind of environmentally related stuff. Well, you go get it cleaned up with bio, resources that come out and eat up the hydrocarbons or salts, that take away different things and clean up the salts. I mean, there's so many things that we do, when we were talking earlier about how we see problems and we're stewards of our environment more than anybody else, because any kind of waste, so you can call it, monetary waste, or environmental waste and problems, we're going to fix those because it's still waste, and at the end of the day, it's monetary waste, and we want all that off the boards. So it's just fully, funded somehow, some way. People come out and go, oh, we'll do this again and again and again and again.
Well, and it's all about protecting your liability. You've got to be a steward of it and have it on the forefront of your daily operations.
We're well aware of the winds of change that don't want us around, so why would we not do everything in our power? And we are the best at doing everything, I'm convinced. So if there's a problem, we will come up with our own solution.
Yeah.
And guess what? With products like yours, well, hot oil is another option, but if your product's better, then that's the way the market will go. We don't need the government to say that. We don't need them to pick winners and losers.
Let's organically fade that out.
If solar and wind are the best, they will come up as the best choice, and that's where everybody in oil and gas, stay out of our energy sector. Let the market determine, and that is by sheer engineering and return on your investment, and what the investors, hey, this is working for us.
And I don't know how much legitimacy is to that, but in the grand scheme of things, with not getting too far off in the weeds, but in the grand scheme of things, in our society it's like anymore, everything has to be one extreme or the other. Like, they can't just go, okay, we would like to move towards this. Okay, let's start.
Let's
research it. And
we're not saying it's not viable, but let's see. We'll work with that. We'll work with everything, but in the meantime, you don't cancel what works.
Right, just like the renewable deal. I'm not opposed to it, but when you have people out there saying, oh, by 2030, come on, man. Like 2030.
Here's the other option. They cancel all oil and gas. you're going to see every guy in the oil field in deer skin loincloths chunking spears because we don't have any energy. So we're going back to hunting. So, ladies, if you're a voter, please for your sake, because we will enjoy the deer skin loincloths and spears.
Yeah.
If I go, not for me, I'm fine. I will. I mean, there's.
I'd be fine, but probably everybody else would be fine with it.
Not gonna be fine,
right?
But that's kind of like the long-term choices that people make. Like, man, you toss us in the dark ages. There's a whole other lifestyle that has to be made, and I surely want our human species to continue to flourish, and we're doing that. So let's give those other energies out there time.
And it's
a power grab. That's all that is.
Well, that's what I was just fixing to allude to. Is how much of that do you think is just somebody looking for an easy hill to die on?
Yeah.
I mean, they go, oil and gas. Oh, it's bad. So I'm going to, attack that. It's because we are, and if they looked at it rationally, because we're always on the forefront, maybe that's an indicator that it's really important to everybody's daily life. So I think that oil and gas is always out there in the media all the time, because of how vital it is to our economy to survive
the world.
Maybe that's an indicator that it's pretty important that we secure it.
And I'm a softie, man. I want people around the globe to enjoy the freedoms and the liberties that we have. Mm-hmm. And I've traveled just enough in my life to go to places that don't have what we have.
Oh yeah,
and then
absolutely.
You see now with with luckily the media that we have around the globe, whether it's good or bad, but you can quickly see by searching YouTube or anywhere just how unfortunate there's little kids out there that can't eat. We were inundated with that when we were kids. Like, well, now well, they don't have any energy sources. Their abundant, reliable energy is not existent.
Yeah, we're real fortunate. The grand scheme of things, we are super fortunate.
When the 17-year-old, is griping about anything, and you're like, what are you talking about? This and this and this, like bad America and oil and gas, because even in our own household, we have discussions, and it's like, look, I love you, glad you have your opinion, all of your complaints, if you will, or problems are just like, really, really just admin problems in the upper echelon of society. Right. So your strip mall lifestyle existence, all of your clothes are like, you look homeless. But you paid an exorbitant amount of money that I saw on my credit card.
We have that conversation.
Birkenstocks, and you didn't go out there and skin any animals and create a soul on your feet. You got Birkenstocks from another country, you've got Lululemon, you've got some shawl thing and a headband and funky sunglasses, and now you're talking all this indoctrination stuff, and oh my gosh, listen.
You can ask my kids.
I want to toss you into another planet and go, hey, go into the woods. You're right. Everything's right. Let's turn off all the lights. Let's walk out in the woods, and you build fire, and I'll bring you animals. Okay, kid?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You ask my kids at my household, that is my easiest soapbox to get on. When they say something and they
give me that Starbucks.
Right. And my kids are, in my opinion, they're grounded, and they're pretty humble kids for the most part. But every kid has, they kind of get out of line every now and then. And my youngest daughter, she'll say something or kind of be snarky about something, and I go, "You spoilt little brat. Do you really understand?" And then, of course, I get that, here it comes. I got to have the urge of speech. And but man, that's my biggest fear is I want my kids to understand, because of what we do in the energy sector, how comfortable of a living that they have. And I was kind of oblivious to it. I have a really good friend of mine that does contract work on all the U.S. embassies around the world.
Okay.
And some of the airports, like international airports, they got troughs, and he said you'll wade through feces like this to go to the bathroom at an airport.
Yeah.
And I was just blown away by that.
Because our airports are posh malls now with every possible, you can go in and have naps now. Massages, we are extremely comfortable, and that is because of the energy resources we have.
Period. Oh, period. And that's why I try to keep my kids, humble to and understand, because they're gonna come across the people that think the same opposite. So,
but that's not a bad thing. That's where that energy education is like. So all these creature comforts we have, we're making them more environmentally friendly by the day, and we're making them more efficient and better returns on your investment. And we're not going to have the same ups and downs that we used to. And so all these problems that we have faced just lead to opportunities to build a better industry, and that will then transfer to more and more people throughout the globe. And it doesn't have to be just America. It can be anywhere, and middle classes around the globe can, come up, and then their children can have that good diet and education, and then they will have that generation of the next energy source. If you think out there that oil and gas will be depleted and go away, well, then now's the time more than ever to depend on it and go get your kids healthy food and education, and give them the tools just in your body alone to survive long enough to come up with the next energy source. Because this generation doesn't have the time to do it yet.
No.
The people on Earth right now, they will pass on the next, I don't know, I guess the next energy revolution.
Right.
Which might be the fissions. We're probably 100 years. Right now they've got it to where lasers shoot, high intensity beams at a tiny little molecule of hydrogen, and now they've been able to get back for the first time in history, more energy out of it than they put into it. It's incredible.
I mean, the longer I'm in this, the dumber I know I see me how I am, because I see some of these people that come up with some of these technologies that fortunately I get to be in that space to see them, like at shows and stuff.
Come to the API meetings with me, stuff like that, AADE. Like, that's why I'm involved in all this. I love the networking, and I'm in love with all my friends, but people get up there and they have this new idea, and that's why I do these things, like just something I had not heard before. Like, what? This is out there. This is happening. Your technology, the metals inside of that are talking to the other molecules out here and cleaning up a well.
And it's passive frequency.
Yeah.
So when he activates those tools, and then when they hit fluid, it does its thing. So when it drives the stable dispersions into that fluid column, when it reroutes the molecule, I can still remember, to the day, where we was at, everything. When I first heard that described to me, now you got to understand, I came from a chemical background, where you're used to manipulating with chemicals, and it was just hard to wrap my head around it. I'm a pretty simple thinker. I don't try to hide it. I don't think anybody's going to mistake me for a highly intelligent guy. But
I made that mistake. Thanks, Josh.
Right. But when you hear it and you're like, how can that do that? And I was skeptical. And I get the side of it, and there's other things too out there that we get to see and.
Have you thought about singing to the wells? Have you seen where the guys who put flowers up, and like, you tell this one each day that you hate that flower, and then this flower over here you say you love it, and this is actually like a healthier plant. Maybe we haven't come up with the way to like talk to our wells. We need well whisperers.
Let's form an LLC on that. What do you say, Matt? Let's see if we can get that.
No one wants to hear me sing. Right.
I
got a guitar, and
we're gonna have to sub that out.
People are like, ooh.
Yeah, we'll sub that out.
In fact, one guy was on a tour bus with me one time. We had this tour bus where we take all these people to the mountains and go skiing and whatnot. Somehow I woke up and they'd found a bus with like a softball team or something. And we're way younger, but it was like, I don't know. They were on our bus somehow. They'd swap. There's some females and all the married guys are like, no. But the single guys are like, I'll let them on. But me and this guy, like, I woke up from a nap because I've been driving, had my guitar, woke up, and I was like, well, this will be fun. So I played a little scary song, and then they all got off.
Yeah, it's amazing how that happens.
So many good stories. And someday we'll be old enough to have like the After Dark podcast where we can just like, I wasn't going to tell this story back in the day, but I think you all should know this. You got any,
you know,
you got any to tell?
No, man.
Right now.
I bet. Yeah, I better. I'm not
get
quite
that business up and running.
Yeah. No, I mean, there. But that's what.
I'm
Right.
done with my shenanigan days.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody's safe.
Yeah, they're glory days at this point.
I don't even know glorious, but they're part of my testimony. The God is real and He's forgiving.
Yes, and He saved my bacon many a time. Yeah, like kind of like Dad used to tell me. He's like, "Boy, if you're going to be dumb, you better be tough."
There we go.
Or there's a couple times where I learned. You're right. Right.
I'm gonna get you out of here, man. This is like a series of shows I want to do with you. And by the way, you're always invited to come back in anytime you have time and do this again, or bring somebody in you want to sit in here. You can take this seat over anytime you like to, whatever you like. But
man, you do it also. You do it. I do want to tell everybody, like, we appreciate how I know this kind of morphed into something you didn't really know what was going to come out of it, right? And my problem is, like, I'm not really good at like showing like a raw guy. I get busy, and then I watch, like when I come in, lay down, I'll get on LinkedIn and like, oh dang, Matt, he's
you had to see my face again today.
Right. I was like, golly, man, that guy is busy. But we appreciate it. Like the guy, like the old school guys like me that grew up in independent country and what we call post-hole country, and been around for 20 years.
Rattlesnake in Tornado, Oklahoma, Oakland.
Right. And man, we appreciate if not anything, the effort to get the word out there and bring a positive light to what we do, is because a lot of times we are shedding a negative light, and it's appreciated. It don't go unnoticed.
Well, I'll get all choked up, but I love this stuff. And take care. God bless you, everybody. We'll see you on the next one. Oh, how do people get a hold of you? What's the website? EnercatTechnologies.com. That'll take you to our main page. And if you want to reach out to me directly, Grizz Voss at 918-504-4570. There we go. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. All right, don't you?
I was going to erase it and start over.
Yeah, I would too.